Hello there. Thank you so much for watching. You are most welcome to the Viral Knowledge channel. And why don't you go ahead and subscribe? If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't yet, take a moment, see the like button, see the subscribe button, click on it, and also feel free to share so that we ensure that knowledge goes viral. So today I would like to talk about e-waste. What is e-waste? E-waste refers to the electronic products that are unwanted, those products that are not working and nearing at the end of their life or their useful life. So just a quick exercise right now, or just to reflect. We are going to do an inventory in our minds. How many devices do we have in our home? How many devices do we have at work? When we no longer need to use those devices, where do they go? That's what I would like to talk about today. It is obvious that more and more organizations are in need of technology e-waste disposal, and they are also seeking for ways of ethically disposing of or recycling the e-waste. I read an article by Great Lakes Electronics Corporation, and I was impressed about their definition of e-waste. They define e-waste as any electronic or electrical equipment that has been discarded already. And they went further to say that this includes working and broken items that are thrown in the garbage or donated to a charity or resold. You see how we do the trade-ins for different devices. So often, if the item goes unsold in the store, it will be thrown away. And e-waste is particularly dangerous due to the toxic chemicals that naturally leach from the materials inside when they are buried. So commonly, what are the common sources of e-waste? Look in your sitting room. Look at your TV, look at your computer, the mobile phone, the charging pads, any electronic device that is around you, any type of home appliance that is around you, the air conditioners, the microwave, all that. Where does it go at the end of the day? Okay. And the greatest challenges in management of e-waste include the low user awareness, because some users, when we buy devices, for example, for an iPhone, you trade it in. What happens to other devices that you can't trade in? Okay. And also, if you've traded it in, at some point it will reach its end of life. What happens to it? There is also lack of proper policy and legislation frameworks, including the public procurement and disposal laws. We are seeing inadequate infrastructure for e-waste management, the high cost charged by the available e-waste companies to take up the e-waste, the absence of frameworks for end-of-life product to take back, and the implementation of the extended producer responsibility. That is still lacking. So we have to understand that the production of electronic equipment or devices is still ongoing and it's continuing. But then what happens to whatever we are producing? How are we going to conserve our environment? Okay. An example, in Kenya, the ICT industry in Kenya is growing very fast, leading to radical increase in e-waste. So as other countries. You will at some point need technology asset disposal, whether it's an organization or an individual. You will need that because every day you onboard a staff, you need to purchase new devices for them to use. At home, you'll need an extra device. You'll need to dispose of what you already have. But are we guided on how this the e-waste is handled? So in 2019, there was a research conducted, and research showed that 50 million tons of e-waste is dumped into landfills worldwide every year. Imagine that. That's a huge number, and it only represents 2% of what is dumped each year. So that 2% of e-waste, however, made up of 70% of the toxic waste in the landfills. Where are we going? How are we ensuring that we are conserving our environment at the end of the day? So if I may ask, you have devices in your home. How many are they? When you think of replacing them, what do you do usually? What comes to your mind? Do you donate them, or do you care to mind the devices that are donated? What happens when they are also no longer needed? Are they recycled? Are they resold? Are they donated again? Where do they end up? That's a question for you and me to reflect on. So in terms of data protection, what happens to the data that was on that device? Are people guided on how to handle personal data that is on those devices that have come to their useful end? Are hard disks degassed? Do you sanitize the hard drives? Do you shred the devices? What do you do do you burn them? What do you do with those devices? So we need also guidance around such aspects. And then how then should we dispose of our e-waste ethically and responsibly? There is a publication that was issued by Professor Omwenga Elijah. He's a PhD at the University of Nairobi. So this publication was mentioning how Kenya imports most of the ICT products from Britain, USA, China, Malaysia. And they emphasized that old products are discouraged. However, there is a considerable amount of old and refurbished products that are being brought in through the NGOs. You've seen donations coming through to schools, to foundations, to other government institutions. What happens in that extent? Sometimes you go to buy a phone, or let's say a screen, and the resellers will tell you that, do you want a refurbished or a new? And then they give you both prices. So it is still a challenge to regulate whether we still need to import old devices or not. Okay. So the disposal of technology assets is still a challenge. However, we need to sensitize the public on how best we can do this, we can handle it, we can ensure that we are conserving our environment. We need to sensitize the garbage collection companies, how, at least on how to dispose of e-waste. And also in relation to data privacy and protection, devices should be accorded appropriate security measures due to the sensitivity of information that they may be handling before exposing them, before disposing them. And retiring technology assets shouldn't mean risking an environmental breach. So we need to stay up to date with the regulations. What are the guidelines surrounding e-waste management? What are the frameworks? If there are no frameworks, can we come up with one to guide and also sensitize the entire environment, to sensitize everybody on how we can be disposing of our e-waste? we need also still to follow the guidelines of e-waste management, the available guidelines. Most countries have the NEMA, the National Environmental Management Authorities. They have guidelines on how to dispose e-waste. Can we do more sensitization around that? And then also develop and support industry best practices in compliance with how to recycle different obsolete technology devices. Governments should also establish e-waste disposal centers almost in every district or county, dependent on where you are, but at least people to know that this is where we dispose e-waste. These days, I enjoy when I go to malls and I see several disposal bins where they tell you this one is for plastic, this one is for glass, things like that. I think we can also establish that and say for e-waste, these are the e-waste disposal centers, so that people are aware that yes, if I have a device that I no longer need, I can go and dispose it out there. And then we can also engage domestic recycling partners who utilize the most eco-friendly process to dispose of our e-waste. And then in relation to ESG, environmental, social, and governance agenda, and also conservation of our environment, I think I feel happy when I see email signatures from some institutions where somebody's cautioning you before you print out this email, please consider the environment. We can also have such signatures mentioning that after use of this device, ensure to dispose it off in such and such a way, or share, or taking it to a recycling center, so that people are made aware of how and where to dispose of their e-waste. According to Popular Science, this is a study I read online. It was saying that when electronics start to break down, they release metals and chemicals inside them, including lead. I think you're aware of lead and its impact, which has been linked to a myriad of health issues. And this is just to remind you that to effectively deal with the issue of e-waste, and due to its hazardous nature, adequate measures should be taken to effectively manage and mitigate the effects of e-waste explosion or implosion in our environment. And also, by the way, this is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to venture into e-waste management. How come we have very few companies that deal with e-waste management, yet devices are almost everywhere? Everyone has a smartphone, and at some point, some people replace their smartphones after 6 months, 2 months, 1 year. How come we have few e-waste management companies? So I think we can think of venturing into that market so that we can generate more revenue, but most importantly, conserve our environment. So I'll pause here. Thank you all for watching.